Hi, welcome to my tube. My name is Margie. I'm a Hilk empath, and I just like having these little talks on the way I feel about things. Today I feel much better than yesterday. Yesterday was rough, man. It was hard all day long. Then I went to sleep. Had a rough time going to sleep. Woke up at 5:30. I'm like, alright, I'm calling it. And I just got to lay there for an hour and just slowly wake up. I can't wait till G-Mini season. G-Mini. G-Mini. I'm G-Mini Rising Gemini. That's what I call Gemini. I was thinking a lot about higher powers this morning and how people get through stuff when freaking they have days like I did yesterday without believing in something outside of yourself that's bigger than you. I thought that I did think that when I moved out here, and I got turned down for freaking 67 jobs. It's something like 80. It's just like, and I've been working since I was 15. I mean, I'm like a professional. So, but it's all divine, and it all happened for a reason, and the path that, of knowledge that I've been on since then has been remarkable, and every day is just, it gets better and better. But some days it's bad, because not all days can be good. And people that have set lives up for themselves, that life is just good for you all the time, good for you. Good for you. But when bad things happen, how are you going to be prepared to handle them, man? Because, frick, the older you get, you just don't deal with it. You don't handle things the way that you handled it, when you were younger. You're not as resilient as you want, or you become less resilient at the older that you get. So, I like peace and serenity and things like that. So I learned a long time ago that me thinking I run in the show, it's just easier for me to just believe in an outside source that things are going to be okay. Things are just going to be okay. And so, when I feel a lot of, like I did yesterday, and it was just a bad day, and I'm not going to get into it. Yesterday's story was for yesterday, today's for today. I feel like hanging out with Carl Jung. See, I always had trouble with God when I was a little girl. When I went to church, listening to the talking part bored me. I would rather go outside and play in the tree, climb in the trees. I did that anyway. And I like Sunday school. One time we made like little mice out of like chewing gum, and like that began the origin story of making, I can't remember the name of it, but making nature out of food, animals and things like that. So when some things I picked up on God is guidance. God is direction. God will give you, set your course, and do right, and God will lead the way is how they presented it to me. Well, I grew up in Morro Bay, California. Well, I have a very logical mind. And Morro Bay is on the coast, and we used to go down to the coast all the time, and we used to talk to the old guys in the old fishermen. They'd tell us stories and how they used the stars to guide them and stuff like that. So in my mind, when I was creating a conception of God, it didn't hit me until I was like in my 30s. I was shopping. I was in the fish sticks aisle, and I looked down and I saw Gortman's Fisherman, and that was my conception of God. My conception of God was a fisherman, because he guided. He made sure people, and at around the same time, George C. Scott was an old actor. There was a warning. They said, don't go out in the storm. There's a storm, Morro Bay, don't go out. And he's like, oh, I'm George C. Scott. Don't you know who I am? Blah, 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 blah. He goes out, and then freaking they had to save him because of the torrential storm. So I thought that was interesting. Most people just don't have a conception of a higher power, because they're not given one. I mean, you just do what you want to do, and eat what you want to eat, and you go where you want to go, and maybe your parents treat you how to not be a jerk. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they taught you tried to teach you that, but then their behaviors were contrary, and oh, the psychology in that is just whew. So another thing I picked up, I mean, it's just like, but we, you know, we have these spiritual vibrations in us that were attunements, alignment, you know, that line us with people that like-minded. And I remember ever since I was a little girl, I used to always pretend, and I was playing out freaking past lives and stuff like that, you know. That's what all pretending is, and actors do. Is you're in the better the role you play, the opposite of your personality in today's day and age, because you have your actors that they all play the same role, which is close to their own personality, so it's not playing a role. But you have the really versatile actors; those are the ones that are really in touch with their divine and living out old past experiences in present. And so these are just my belief systems. I don't care if other people. There's no ideology base behind this. This is just things and facts and data I put together. It's funny. And so when I was a little girl, I used to like pick up cigarette butts until they made me freaking smoke. Okay, we're gonna make you smoke a whole pack. They didn't make me smoke a whole pack. He made me smoke like 2 or 3, but to a freaking 3-year-old girl that. You want to smoke? That's what they did. When you want to do it, do it up. Yeah. So, and I didn't do it up for years, and then I smoked for like 15 years, and then I stopped. But I still do flower, and I'd like to stop that one day too. I just don't like impeding the progress of my lungs with smoke, and smoke leaves, it's alchemy. It leaves leftover residual, and I would like to keep my lungs clear. So. Me, it's medicinal. Anyway, and then I always, as long as I can remember, I always had an idea of like a pipe, like a Sherlock Holmes pipe. And I'm in alignment with Sherlock Holmes, with his idea of thinking and his... I think like him. I think like Sherlock Holmes. And, so I don't know, Carl Jung has always been a safe place to me. And then, years later, how these parts get put together are really interesting. I was in a 12-step program, and I have the spirit of the old school, so I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's autonomous, and it works for people. And I think about the vibration of connection that has created, and it almost makes me, it's almost overwhelming for me right now, the connection to a spirit. And I read something this morning, and I'd really like to share it with anyone. See, when you aren't born into an environment of love, it can be a very scary, unfamiliar vibration. And it was always curtailed in me, because I'd get excited about seeing people, and I'd bounce off the walls and ping, and people would, no, calm down. Everything was calm down. Be less of what you are. Be less of who, and be less of your excitement, and be less this and be less of that, because I feel too small, is what I feel that the other people are saying. I feel too small, and I can't handle the contents of your spirit. That's what I hear. Every time somebody tells me to calm down, relax. So I try not to do that with other people. And I find myself doing that to other people because what I want people to do is breathe and just become present into the moment of what they're at. Because a lot of times when people get upset about stuff, they're getting upset because they're reliving something that happened in the past, or they're scared about something that hasn't even happened yet. So they're actually tying an outcome with their fear, because you have that fear, and then it throws a kind of a fishing line out to something that you could be afraid of to happen in your future. So I used to go around, people would ask me to give my talks. That's one thing that you do, is you give back by sharing your experience, your strength, and hope. And that's what I do here too, as a continuance. I'm not in that club no more. It's still there. It's different, just like everything else. Now everything's online. Takes the spirit out of it, but a little bit, but it'll come back. I ain't worried about it. When I give my talk, I used to talk about how when I would take a drink, that to me it felt like oxygen in the blood, that I felt whole and complete. And I read something this morning from a paper that Carl wrote. This was received date was January 26, 2015. I'll just put the link below in the description box, and then if you want to see it, you can. But there was something here that hit me like a freaking ton of bricks, and it said his craving for alcohol was the equivalent of the spiritual thirst of our being for wholeness expressed as a union with God. And I often say that alcohol removes your spirit and allows your ego to come in. And when your ego runs riot, then you just do what you want to do, and it ain't about nobody else. Nobody at all. And that's when people get hurt. When you don't care about anybody but yourself, that's when people get hurt. That's when I hurt people, and I don't mean to hurt people. I just think that nobody wants to bother with me, you know. So, but that's my ego stuff, and there's no spirit in that, because spirit is connection. Spirit is one human being connecting with another. So I really think that it's kind of apropos that all this happened is being people have lost connection, so they can regain their connection with themselves and a source, an outside source greater than yourself, that gives you the everything is going to be okay. Because if I'm by myself, I just make mistakes. I make mistakes because I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and that's what we're supposed to do, try things out. And I try a lot of different stuff out. I'm clumsy, and I fall down, and I have a lot of abilities, but I'm disabled. There's a lot of areas that I lack. The older you get, it shows. That's why I believe in community so much, man. Community, I can't do everything by myself. I'm getting tired. I'm trying hard to make friends, and I always thought it would be cool to have a bunch of different, like a good communal living type environment. I'm a Native American. I wonder where that comes from, There's been powers that have bigger and better ideas of division, but that we're trying to bring people back closer. So I just thought that was really suckers over here sawing logs. That said that because that was the missing piece, was my connection to spirit. And when I got my connection to spirit, and I can find it any time as soon as I become present, meditate, go sit outside under my trees, my feet in the dirt, let's go for a walk around the flowers in Oregon. It just occurred to me I've been shutting myself off from that. I haven't been out as much, and my vibes have been low. So what do? See? We pick up things to make us feel better. We're supposed to be picking up toolboxes to make us feel better. Positive solutions, things to make us feel better, not worse. So it's 8:45 on a Wednesday. So how am I going to start my day and end my day on a positive note? So what course of action am I going to take? What choices am I going to take? Well, I'm going to choose to not eat a bunch of freaking crap food. Yeah, I'm going to make some asparagus for myself for breakfast. I'll ask Mom if she wants some. Maybe some eggs, maybe some, I'll save the asparagus for dinner. I'm going to make a good dinner. I got coconut cream instead of milk, but it'll do. I'm going to make a nice chicken curry. Yeah, protein. It's good food, makes you feel good, and I make it with love, so turns out okay. Usually, sometimes, not even, see, that's the thing, ain't nothing 100%. Sometimes my concoctions, they're just, just a meal, just for sustenance. Oh, miss the mark, Marge. But oftentimes, Mom, I nail it. She's like, you should write all the time. You should write a cookbook. You should write a cookbook. We're all little parrots. We're all just little birds. We're all just, spreading our little message. from stuff that we've heard. I like, well, but are we repeating things that we're repeating just because we've always been told it? Or most of my life is lived contrarily. Most of my life is just lived because I don't want to live in misery of the other way. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on. I just thought that was so cool hanging out with Carl this morning. You know, I just like, and that's the thing is my body when I freaking welcome, when my body wants food, it doesn't matter what it is, it's people have breakfast for dinner. Why not have freaking spaghetti for breakfast? It's whatever. I mean, it's all of it. Time is just made up. It's what your body is drawn to, And when I say spaghetti, I think of comfort food and carb loading and stuff like that. Put yourself in that low vibrational, I was thinking about energy this morning when I wake up. I got a lot of it. I'm shifting. I'm changing. I'm getting older, so I'm processing, allowing. I'm less get up and go. For years, I had to get up and go. In a traumatic way. We used to get woken up in the middle of the night. Women that we never stayed in one, but I know that they exist because there's one down from. I've met women that have lived in them, and it's just never been an option for my mom, I guess. But they have safe houses for women that have to escape the men that they're with. Oh, so there's threats in life, and some people are shown these threats at an earlier age, and some people are put in a box, in a shelter, and all of these threats are just kept from them. They're just kept. There's no threats. Everything is great. Everything is hunky-dory. Don't you worry about a thing. Your pretty little face, But there's people like me that have always that have heard people say that, but see the bead of sweat, and to see the physical part and how they're lying and how they don't believe what they're saying is true, So now we're coming out. Energy don't lie, man. We're coming. The world is energy. The world has always been energy, but more people are opening their eyes and their minds to the idea of that. Therefore, it becomes more prominent, and it gets bigger, and it grows in potential, just like energy does. And it manifests in a real outwardly world as trends. But when I see the stuff that trends, I'm like, oh, you're all ready to put out your fake persona. The trends of avatars. This is me as a cartoon. I know what you are as a cartoon. You live as a cartoon every day. See? The trends? I think I was in there. I have to look up the timeline, but I remember when freaking the United States of America, the #1 movie in the country was Jackass 2. I threw my hands up then. I'm like, is there hope for these people? And then the Great American Eclipse happened, and then I'm like, there's always hope. It's kind of neat. So that's when I first had my kundalini. I had the pituitary. From what I was explained to me, the pineal gland is the feminine, but the I'm gonna get it backwards. Pituitary is feminine, and the pineal is masculine, or vice versa. I can't remember. My bad. It was explained to me one way or the other, so I can't remember because it was a couple years ago and it was a phasey time. That was in my jump off the wagon days before I found my spirit again. So my train of thought just derailed, and I'm trying not to get mad. So it was a couple years ago. I was talking about something that happened it's totally gone. So when it's totally gone, what do? We check and see if anyone's in the chat. Oh yeah, pituitary gland, pineal gland. That's what I was talking about. Is I got record of it because I had a headache for like 6 days, like a migraine. Like I felt like something exploded, is what happened. And Mom had a stroke, you know, and I know about biology and stuff like that, and I knew it wasn't in anything. I mean, I didn't, but I did. So it was all right. It wasn't pressing for me. And I'm kind of a worrywart, so if that's any consolation. I can't overthink things. I've been told that my whole life. It's because I think of all the possibility outcomes, but this wasn't a detriment to me. So, but anyway, after like and then after like 4 days of it being 24 hours, where I was like nauseous. It was bad. It was bad. So I called the triage at the VA, and they're like, and it was 2:30 on an afternoon, and they're like, you need to come in right now. And so I go in, and they do a CAT scan, and and then they came back, and they're like, well, they started throwing around all these terms, you know, but they had to do more tests. So schedule an MRI. But my pituitary gland was enlarged. So I worked in a hospital, I immediately started researching it, you know. I worked in radiology department. I freaking got on it, man. I was just like autoimmune disease, freaking, you know, all this stuff. What happened was it was a Kundalini awakening, I do believe. And I started recently meditating binaural beats, and it just freaking bumped me up to another level. And I got like the imaging of it happened, because when the MRI happened, it had subsided. It was back down in normal ranges, but it had enlarged, you know, and that was just stimulation. Just things grow when they get fed. So I just ate whatever I wanted. But I was in Omaha, Nebraska, and so what we do, me and Mom, I just started doing things to feed my spirit. I never get sick. I wouldn't get sick. I'd start to get, but I'd never get full-blown sick. So I started to get sick, you know, I'd call in, take a mental health day, and then Mom and I would drive down to Nebraska City and get apple fritters at the apple farm, stuff like that, on off days. I'm all about off days, man. I don't freaking like crowds. And stuff is still open, so I just go when nobody else is around. It's more fun for me, and now nobody else is around all over the place, but now it's coming back around. But I'd go freaking go to Village Inn is a staple out there. You freaking pie. I get 4 pieces of pie and take a bite out of each one. Leave the rest, you know. Yeah, wasted. Whatever I needed to do to feed my spirit and my ego, I was still balancing it out. I'm less wasteful now. I'm less inclined to do that now. You share it with people, you know. Everybody gets a bite, but I like variety. The idea of living every day the same to me, well, I've lived that reality a real long time, and I'm probably gonna cry because the song makes me cry every time I hear it. It's Over the Rainbow. It's a beautiful song because that's where all the color merges, man. We're all just shades of the same color spectrum. Some people just sit a little lower in shade, you know, because they've been hurt. That's what all fallen angels are, is just people have been freaking disregarded, ignored, not helped, time and time again. And what do? They offer the first thing that comes, and sometimes that thing that comes is disingenuous and isn't for their highest good. It's to take advantage, and, you know, so I don't have anything. So, Artie Pants, he's had a better morning this morning. Yes, he did. Yesterday was rough, I assure you that. That's why, you know, I got roped into these little rascals. I got 4 just because I was too simple to let 2 go. They were supposed to go live someplace else, and I was just like, no. I'm supposed to be with them when they take their last breath and they go to the Rainbow Bridge. Then they sit there and they wait for me until I get there. But that's not today. It is for a lot of people, though. there's a lot of people. I'm super excited for. I have a lot of water in my chart. See, that's the thing is I got to know my chart. I used to get pissed because I used to think I was a sissy freaking crybaby. Freaking wuss baby. Freaking babies cry. Freaking crybaby cry. It's the toxic masculinity. It's all the shit that other dudes do. But you know what? Most of these dudes haven't had enough strength in themselves to freaking get rid of that. To find another way. They just rather freaking live in that. And women too that are stuck in their toxic masculinity or femininity or toxic whatever. Toxicity is just low vibrational behavior. It's just whenever I do something, I put a lot of pressure on myself because it's like, yeah, I can do this, and some days I don't have the energy. But usually whatever I do, whatever task is coming up, I can always do better. There's always a better. There's always a better version of me. There's always a better version of you. And once people start freeing up and letting go of the hurts, just realize, fuck it, just things hurt, man. Feelings hurt. It sucks having feelings, but people that don't, those are the ones that are a tell for me. Those people are scary as fuck to me. People that don't have feelings, people that don't have empathy, that is a serious, gross, sadistic imbalance that has caused the world to freaking... It has made the people the virus. The people are the virus. People are the ones that freaking make all the stuff and consume all the stuff to make themselves feel better, just like Carl said in that saying. You know, the spiritual thirst of our being for wholeness expressed. I think that is so funny that I used to, for years, I put it together this morning when I read that. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to talk about how I felt whole, like that first drink was oxygen in the blood. And then years later, how I weird kid redundantly speak about how, oh boy, when you drink, oxygen removes the spirit from your blood. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that's why. I'm gonna put the link of that in the description box, because there's other important parts in that read that are very quite synchronistic. See, that conversation was from a letter that was released in, like, I gotta do the timeline, 39. So like 1909, something like that. I have to do the timeline because I'm just going off the top of my head, but it was 30 years released before, before AA even started. AA started because one guy didn't want to drink, was sitting in a bar, and another guy did want to drink but knew he shouldn't, walked into that same bar. And they sat down to each other, next to each other, and they started talking, and neither of them took that drink. And then they made a fellowship that just helped people not take that first drink. Just the first one, because you don't get drunk if you don't take the first one. There's other sensations that you can chase that'll get you closer to spirit, source. You know, power outside yourself, bigger than you, all that stuff, whatnot. I'm going to do some things today to get me there. Because yesterday, man, that was a big dip. That was rough. So, it's about all I got for now. Hope you have a rad day.